where the 81st Street, where the Blue Fair Park and Horseman's Complex is.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, exactly. And then it goes all the way towards the shooting range. And there's some social trails we'll formalize in the future, but kind of off of that main trail.
Okay, all right, great. So we want to make sure that you're the point of today. So what we're trying to emphasize is obviously for you guys, thanks for being a part of this. Glad that facilities are open, so that's good to talk about. These are less used than like the Boston facilities. So as a city, like regardless of jurisdiction, we want to let people know, like, we want people to spread out, not just in a facility, but all over central New Mexico. So we're really trying to Atlantic Gallegos.
Same message for the national.
That was a lot.
Balloon Fiesta and 4th of July combined for the last 2 weeks, and everyone wants to go to Wilderness Trailhead or some of the other heavily used ones, dispersing to the lesser used trailheads.
Yeah, sweet. Nice.
Okay, oh my goodness, I forgot my signing, so I wanted to say good morning. It's something like this. Good morning. We are out here today at our, I'll get the official names, we'll hear about it, but I just call it Petroglyph Park. And so out on the west side, and we have a lot to go over today for central New Mexico. So let me give folks a preview of what we're going to talk about, and as a heads up, again, a lot to cover today on a lot of different topics and some very important announcements. So we're going to talk about some updates from our partners, whether it's DOH or APS or the Air Force Base. Then we're going to give a face covering update. We're also going to talk a little bit about our nursing homes and the continuing testing that's going on there and so forth. And then today's deep dive topic is number one, about solid waste. That's our trash pickup. And we've been getting a lot of questions about spring cleanup and so forth. So we have our Director of Solid Waste here who's going to speak to that. And then number 2, we also have lots of folks here to talk about open space, national parks, city and county, as well as APD open space. And this is, of course, as we go into the weekend, we just want to let folks know kind of tips, tricks, what's open, what's not, and most importantly, how to conduct yourself and your family in open space during the time of Corona. So we're going to hear from lots of subject matter experts with respect to open space. And just in case folks know, we're going to group all our open space items at the end. And then, of course, we'll do question and answer as always. Also, we are joined today by another special guest, our city councilor, our newest city councilor is with us today, Lan Senna, and she represents the kind of middle section of the west side. And so she has a number of things she wants to go over as well, relevant to everyone in the city of Albuquerque and in central New Mexico. So I'm going to begin with some updates. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the environmental health aspect with respect to nursing homes and face coverings. And then we'll go to our counselor, and then we will go to solid waste, and then we'll go to open space. Okay? So with that, a couple of updates from our Joint Information Center. First, NMDOH has released new guidelines for healthcare personnel returning from travel outside New Mexico. And so look specifically at their website for that, very important. We know there are healthcare workers traveling and so forth, and now our DOH has guidance for them. Also, beginning April 6th, APS and PBS, Channel 5 as most of us call it, are going to be doing televised lessons for elementary school students from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. I know even our family, Maya, is very excited about this. So I'm excited these are going to start. I believe that would be Monday. And so part of the distance learning program there. Also want to note that MacArthur School will no longer be a meal distribution site starting April 6th. Check out with APS, schools are now being grouped a little bit, so there'll be a nearby school where those meal distributions will continue. And APS continues to work on learning plans for all students. Stay tuned for those to start beginning in different forms next week. Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails, they've announced a partnership with Love's Travel Stops that gives the public an opportunity to show appreciation for truck drivers during this time. And again, very important, we see those grocery store shelves being empty and then refilled. That is because truck drivers are very much essential and a key component right now, keeping our economy running and keeping us well fed. And this partnership is donations for drivers. Individuals and businesses can say thank you by donating a box of Girl Scout cookies that will be given to drivers at Lowe's travel stops along I-40 in New Mexico. Kirtland Air Force Base, due to light essential mission only vehicle traffic, the Eubank Gate is going to be closed beginning April 6th at 5:30 a.m. And so the Gibson Gate will then assume 24/7 operations in its place, allowing the Eubank Gate area construction project to significantly accelerate its construction. I know for those folks who work at Sandia Labs, which of course there are thousands of you, most of you working from home, but one is my wife, so this is a big one. They're going to try and accelerate that construction so that traffic isn't as bad when we get back to normal, so really appreciate their efforts on that. Also, the Wyoming Gate is moving to a 5:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7-day schedule. So Gibson Gate and Wyoming Gate will be the relief valves with respect to Eubank Gate being closed. We expect it to open in early June. Okay, face coverings. We're going to talk more about this in a little bit, but state and federal officials are now offering new guidance with respect to encouraging people to wear face coverings when you're in public. Again, not required, but encouraged. We're going to talk a little bit more about this in a little bit. We also want folks to know that they should not be wearing N95 masks or anything fancy in terms of these high-end masks. And if you already own one, of course you're welcome to, but we've got to save these for our healthcare professionals and our first responders. And so we'll explain this in a little bit, but for the rest of us, face coverings can be homemade. They can be a handkerchief or a scarf. And the point is, you're trying to catch your own droplets coming out of your mouth so they don't get to others. it doesn't protect you from others. So we just want to sort of explain that and know what it is and what it's not. You're wearing a face covering to protect others from you when you sneeze or cough or something like that. It in no way protects you from stuff coming at you. So there's a big difference there, but it is important. And so let me pause for just a second. First, I know that's making a lot of noise, that flagpole. I'm not sure if there's anything, we just have to roll with that, or you got a little piece of tape or anything. It's okay if not, just throwing it out there. Okay, and also then too, let me talk about a couple of demos for face masks. So let's do that. And so while Alicia comes up, so I'm gonna tell a story. This is a krama that's pronounced in Khmer. That is the language of Cambodia, which folks know I used to live in Cambodia. And believe it or not, the Cambodians way ahead of us on this. Almost every Cambodian wears one of these every day. And they do it for things like pollution and dust, but they also do it so that they are keeping others safe. And I know a lot of cultures do this, but because I lived there for 3 years and still have a krama, I wanted to use it today. So it works as a nice little scarf. And then basically all you're gonna do when you're out in public, you kind of bandana it like that. Just give it a nice little tie in the back, tighten it up, and then you're kind of good to go for a while. And so this will work at a minimum, you know, for something that'll help at least in some way protect others. So that's our example with our Cambodian krama, or a scarf for anyone at home. And Alicia is going to demonstrate the bandana face covering. I mean, I think we've all done this at one point in our lives. And it still looks just as good as it always has. So great job. All right, and Mark, you want to show us another one? Dr. Mark Demena, another kind of scarf option here. And as he does that, we'll go ahead and you can show us, and then we'll pause for another topic.
Okay.
So you can go ahead and do face masks, and then we'll talk about nursing homes after.
We'll do. Okay. As you heard the mayor say, we don't want people to use N95s. I don't even have access to one to show you what one looks like. That's how scarce they are right now. This is a surgical mask. Some people have these at home already. Even these should really be saved. Don't go out and try to get a hold of these. This is stuff that first responders and medical people need to have. And I'm going to make sure this gets back into circulation. This is my own mask. This is one of those homemade cloth types that we're talking about. So it has elastic. These are available. I got this earlier on when things were more readily available online. Pulls on just like a regular mask to cover your face. This is the type of thing that there's designs now where people are able to make these things and donate them. So you're hearing about some of these DIY groups that are sewing these things, and I think that stuff will be more readily available. And then just one other sort of version of the same type of thing. This is schmog. People have probably seen these. They wear them in the Middle East, and our special forces type guys use them as well. But it's the same type of thing. It's a larger piece of material, so you can actually kind of double it up even more to cover your face. The idea with all of these things, as you heard the mayor explain perfectly already, is to catch those large respiratory droplets. In no way is this intended to change what we've always said. This type of face covering is not going to protect you necessarily from getting any kind of an infection. It is to assume that you are the one who's infected. There's so much community spread that we know is an issue. Asymptomatic spreaders are the ones that we're most concerned about bringing virus to other people. So the idea, this shift in direction, is that we want people to assume that they may be infecting others when they're out in public. Cover your face to prevent those respiratory droplets from coughing, sneezing, even from talking and breathing that can infect other people. This is the type of thing that we need to do in order to flatten the curve, slow the spread of this, and minimize infection to other people.
Okay, so this, again, there's going to be lots of guidance coming out nationally and from the state, so I think stay tuned to all news outlets and so forth. I know there's lots of different ways to do this, make them at home, etc. But again, just want to mention too, this is also why we're trying to stay 6 feet apart, but we also know sometimes whether it's hallways or whatever, or shopping, that you can't always do that, and that's where the face covering really comes in handy. We also want to let folks know we're strongly encouraging this, but if folks are unable to do it or forget and so forth, we want everyone to do the best that they can, but we also want everyone to be nice and respectful about it. So let's encourage those who are, and if you're unable to, or for whatever reason, try and do it next time. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, I think the most breaking item today is our continuing vigilance with respect to nursing homes. And after we finish this, we'll hand it over to our city councilor. So we continue in our health department, and Dr. Mark Demena is going to come up in just a minute and speak about this, but we unfortunately have seen additional positive cases, lots of positive cases at La Vidiana, and I think there's been another facility out in Rio Rancho. I want everyone to know that first, testing is going on there. That is a good thing. We need to test all sorts of folks right now at those facilities to understand sort of who's has COVID test positive and who doesn't. Our environmental health department is working with DOH to make sure that folks follow self-isolation and health guidelines are going to be followed. I think also at this point, you know, these folks are our parents, our grandparents. They are, unfortunately, just by definition, all over the country, right, nationally, nursing homes are a very, very high-risk area. And New Mexico is no different. And so we're starting to see this right here in Albuquerque. And for us, you know, this is something that we are going to make sure that these facilities are following best practices with respect to everything that they can. But we also know that, unfortunately, these outbreaks at nursing homes may be inevitable. It seems to be all across the country because of the close proximity and the age demographics. So APD is now assisting outside La Vidiana in particular, trying to sort out family member issues, who's able to come in and who's not. There's a lot of challenges around who's a healthcare worker that needs to come in and who doesn't. We are working through these challenges. There are protocols being developed, especially in other parts of the country, that we're rapidly adapting here. And so want to know, folks, that we're moving as fast as we can on this, but also your thoughts and prayers for all of these members of our community who live in these facilities and their family members who may have visited in recent times. Hopefully not, but for all of their health. And it just underscores the gap in our system. This is something that no one across our country was prepared for in terms of how to deal with interactions and transactions in nursing homes given a corona outbreak. So we are moving fast on this with the DOH. And for a little bit more information on this, I want to bring back up Dr. Mark Demena again with environmental health. And he is working on some of the enforcement protocols and so forth on this.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, we talked about this as soon as we heard that there was a case at La Vidiana, the concern that we have for nursing homes, the very vulnerable population there. We're encouraged to hear that staff and residents throughout are being offered testing. It's not a mandatory thing at this point, but they are intending to go through, this is Department of Health in conjunction with Presbyterian, they're intending to go through and do testing throughout. Early indications are, as you just heard, there are lots of other positives now, and that just, again, demonstrates the vulnerability of the population there. It's very concerning, kind of disappointing to hear. We know that there are 158 total facilities like this, so we're reaching out to them as we have in the last few days, making sure that they understand the guidance that they've been asked to follow, providing some additional details on the kinds of things that can reduce risk. In particular, ensuring that if there's anybody that's believed to be exposed or has any symptoms, that they're being isolated right away in order to prevent any additional exposure, in order to prevent any additional risk in those facilities. So we do expect that we'll probably hear more about these cases. They're still working through that testing, and we'll just be trying to make ourselves as available as we can to help through that process. But we're hoping that people are understanding this. This is why social distancing is important. This is why what we're asking everybody to do in terms of their hygiene, in terms of staying home, is such a relevant thing for us.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mark Demena. Okay, at this time, I'd love to invite our newest city councilor up. Again, she represents the west side, sort of the middle west side if you're looking at a map, roughly between Montano and Central. And we're fortunate to be joined by Councilor Lon Sena. Lon?
Thank you to the mayor and the administration, city staff and workers for your efforts on addressing COVID-19. Again, my name is Lance Sena, the newest city councilor to this area. District 1 is west of the river, north of Central. At Montano and Paseo is kind of the northern boundaries. With me here is my dog Sterling. We can't forget our four-legged friends here. So again, we are here at Petroglyphs. It's one of the gems of District 1, one of many. And it's one that Sterling and I often enjoy and get to, of course, participate on the trails, but also to remind everyone that while on these trails, to not allow your dogs to interact, just because that would also kind of eliminate this social distancing. And when you do want to have your pups interact, do go to the dog parks as they are open. Some of the dog parks for District 1 that we love to go to is the Ure Dog Park, the Santa Fe Village, and Ladera as well. I do want to mention for those in District 1 and to all of those that know her, Elaine Romero is my policy analyst that I've also kept on. She's been really essential in keeping the district all of the resources that they need, and I know of her hard work. I know of her hard work and dedication to our district and to the west side. So I've definitely kept her on. She has been essential to really the success of the district and of my success as well. So I just want to thank her, and really I wouldn't function without her. So again, I've kept on Elaine. If there are any issues within District 1 that you still have or concerns, feel free to reach out to her and to me as well. My email for the city is landsena@cabq.gov. Something else that I also wanted to mention is that resources available are also available in multiple languages. I know that this was brought up during the mayor's telephone town hall, that all of our resources are always available to those that need it, that are limited English proficient or need those assistance. And so I'm thankful that we always have the American Sign Language interpreters here, but also know that if you do need any resources that the city can help you with, do call 311, and if you need those resources in multiple languages, they can also be there to provide that. And if it's COVID-19 health related, that there is a number to call. So I do want to thank you all and thank the mayor for visiting my district, and thank everyone else for all of the work that you have all been doing. First responders, our healthcare workers, essential personnel such as grocers, gas attendants, and really the people that have been keeping our city afloat. So I do want to say thank you to all of those, and I appreciate all of your support.
Thanks so much, Counselor, and great to see your dog as well. Really appreciate your comments, and also I know Council is going to be meeting Monday, so check in with Council with the Council website, and they'll be communicating in terms of all the normal things that would go on in terms of legislation and whatnot. That'll be coming out as it normally would before Council. Okay. So now I want to change gears before we get back a little bit to open space, all things open space, and thinking about outdoors and recreation. Before we do that, it's spring. We know that even in these times, a lot of folks are cleaning out their house. We know they are doing yard work and all of these things that are actually really good things to do, especially when you're at home so much. But that also requires lots and lots of trash pickup and convenience center work. So our Director of Solid Waste is here to walk us through how we're handling spring cleanup and our convenience centers, and also going to talk about the largest annual cleanup we have every year, the American Cleanup, just around the corner at the end of April. We're going to proceed with that, but a little bit modified plan for neighborhoods. Also, Keep Albuquerque Beautiful, which is part of our solid waste department, is going to be providing things like free trash bags and gloves for your cleanup. And we're also going to work on neighborhood collections in a way that's socially distanced appropriate. And also want to remind all our neighborhood leaders out there too, we're going to work with you basically over the phone and over email to try and make sure we can do this in just new hours for cleanup. It's probably going to be about 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. But for more on this and all the details, our Director of Solid Waste, Matt Whalen.
Thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to let everybody know that as far as solid waste, all of our collections, residential, commercial, and recycling are going just as normally scheduled. So your collections are on the normal days, which they normally are. One of the things that we are noticing is that there is more refuse. So I would encourage residents that if you have more refuse, try to make sure that you get it all in the can and that your lid can close. If you pile it too much to where your lid is opened and there's trash sticking out over the top, it ends up being a problem when they try to dump it into the refuse vehicle. So just be mindful of making sure that the lid on your refuse container can close. And also your recycle bins. We are still very active with recycling, and we still are very active with recycling right. So if your refuse bin does get full, please do not use your recycle bin for refuse. Just use that for recycling items. You can always go to cabq.gov/solid waste to see what items should be put in your recycling bin. So recycling, residential refuse, and commercial recycling are continuing as normal. The only thing that we have scaled back is our cart bin repair and replacement. We are still doing that, but we're not doing it on a 5-day-a-week basis. We're doing it 2 to 3 days a week. So if you're calling because you need a cart replacement or you need to get a new cart or you've moved, it will get done. It just may take a day longer. Also, we are working throughout the city with businesses that have had to close during this time or businesses that no longer need as much service as they normally would. So we do have our staff working with those businesses. But if you do have a business and you need to reduce or cancel your service, please call 311 or you can call the Solid Waste Department at 761-8100. We also have our drivers out during our commercial routes, and if they see businesses that may not be open or that their refuse cans aren't being used, we do have staff contacting those businesses to see if they need to have their contracts changed. So we will continue to work with all the businesses throughout the city to get through this situation. We've also implemented social distancing at our convenience centers. So at our Eagle Rock, our Montesa, and at Don Reservoir centers, there is social distancing going on, so we're only allowing 5 to 6 cars into the bays at a time. Because of that, there will be longer wait times. The average wait time is about 1 hour and 20 minutes at the Eagle Rock location. So if you're bringing stuff there, just know that there will be somewhat of a wait due to social distancing. We're encouraging people to go to Montesa Park where there is less of a wait because there is less traffic. That being said, we're still going to move forward with our spring yard waste collection. We do this every year, twice a year. It's where we clean up all of our green waste throughout the city. It's going to be May 4th through the 15th. So we are asking you, if you're cleaning up your yard or you're cleaning up areas of your house, if you can hold on to that green waste until the green waste cleanup, we'd appreciate it if you did. But if you need to go to our convenience centers, just know that they are open. However, it is taking a little bit longer. Also, one of the big items that we have is our Great American Cleanup. The Great American Cleanup will be on April 25th. And this is an event that we've done every year as part of Keep Albuquerque Beautiful, which is part of Keep America Beautiful. Now, we wanted to continue this event. However, due to social distancing, we're doing it in a modified way. We're doing it through neighborhood association presidents who normally organize the event for their neighborhood, but we're going to be working directly with them, and they will work directly with the residents that will be participating. And what we will do is we will have it done so you're doing your own house, your own yard, and maybe the surrounding area as to keep people socially distanced from each other. If you haven't registered yet for the Great American Cleanup, you can do so at cabq.gov/solid waste, and you can go until April 17th. So I'd encourage you, if you're interested in doing that, we want to continue doing it because keeping Albuquerque beautiful is one of our main priorities. So we want to make sure that that happens. It's going to be a one Albuquerque effort for all of us to get it done together. your neighborhood presidents can contact, or your neighborhood rep can contact the solid waste department. The new hours for the cleanup are from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and we'll have to get all your information, because what we'll have you do is you'll get all your refuse out to the street, and we'll have trucks there to pick it up for you so that we can stay socially distanced and so that you won't be coming into contact with other people. So I'd encourage everybody to take part in that. If you have any other questions concerning the solid waste department, you can always go to the website, or you can call 311. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Matt. And again, there's going to be a press release on this, and we'll put it out on social media too with all of these details. So I think what we're going to do next is proceed on to our conversation around open space. Also, I want to let folks who are watching, there's a lot of questions coming in, so we will get to those. But we actually have a number of guests here, and so we want to make sure that they can say what they need to say, and then we'll again stay for questions. So let's begin in no particular order with our Superintendent of Open Space for the City of Albuquerque, Superintendent Colleen McRoberts. And as she comes up, I want to mention primarily one thing. Open space is open. We very much need people to maintain their social distancing. So that 6 feet away perimeter, and Colleen's going to talk about this. But I also want to let folks know that our popular open space areas are getting heavily used. And so we want to let you know there are a lot of other open space areas that are just as awesome. And you can actually have a very enjoyable time with less parking hassle and otherwise by trying to hit some of these lesser used open space areas. So I want to highlight a couple of them. There's some in the East Mountains, believe it or not, that the city runs. Milne Gutierrez Canyon in the East Mountains is awesome. There's also near Golden, which is on the way to Madrid. Amazing Albuquerque open space out there. Montesa Park remains being open. Also, Placitas has excellent open space. You want to take a nice drive. There's also really good stuff around Four Hills. And so these are all, again, less used open space areas, which, again, right now it's a great time to use them because our more popular areas in the foothills are just jam-packed, as I think everyone knows. So Colleen's going to give a little bit of a rundown on those, and all of those maps are available on websites and so forth. I'm going to hold up one right here, which I know, like, if folks want to zoom in, they can see it. But there's open space areas, again, near Four Hills, the Manzano open space. There is a great open space area in the Manzano Mountains. There's also one right in Cedar Crest, and there's also one out by Golden, and there's also one in Placitas. These are great ways to spread out, not just in open space, but also all over central New Mexico to enjoy the open space that's open. Okay, so with that, thanks for the help with the flagpole too. Our Superintendent of Open Space, Colleen McRoberts.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Keller. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk to you all today about staying safe in the major public open space and surrounding public lands. We are so fortunate to come from a great heritage here in New Mexico of a land-based people and people who were visionary before us, who fell in love with this landscape and fought to protect it as major public open space. As a result of that, we have more parks and green space, public lands in our area per capita than any other city in the nation, and that is something to be incredibly proud of. And that is why we're able to continue to maintain these properties as being open up until now. Being out in the open space and the outdoors in general is a really great way to deal with our stress and to help support our mental and physical health and well-being. So it's a great thing to do, but we absolutely need to keep things in mind right now to make sure that we keep ourselves and each other safe when we're out on the trails. And the first and foremost thing is it is paramount to follow the mandates that have been set by Mayor Keller and the governor's office and to maintain the 6 feet physical distancing. It's also really important that we maintain those small group sizes. I know you're hearing this message over and over, and it's important that we not consider it only for grocery stores and when we go into indoor spaces, but when we're outdoors as well. We just really want to make sure that we get through this situation keeping each other safe as much as possible, and following those simple rules will help us to do that. The other thing I'd like to address right now, though, is to really talk about our collective impact as we are out in these really special places that have significant cultural and environmental features, and to make sure that we lessen our impact as much as possible to the plants and animals that we are so appreciating. And so there's some simple things as well that you can do to do that. The first thing is to stay on the trails. It's important to stay on official trails because then that reduces erosion and impact to fragile plants and sensitive soils that can easily have soil erosion issues when we go off trail. The other thing is it's really important to take out our trash, pack out what we bring in. I really encourage you guys, there are trash cans at the trailheads, there's also mutt stations, but I encourage you guys to pack out your trash and just take it home so that we don't have trash cans overflowing. Our staff is working very, very hard to keep these places clean. We're asking each person to do their part as well and help steward these lands. You may even consider bringing a trash bag and gloves while you go out on the trails so that you can pick up trash along the way. And pet owners, please pick up after your dogs. That is so important. When we see these things on the trail, it really changes the entire aesthetics for everyone coming behind you. The smell, the visual effect that it has. Let's keep these areas pristine and clean. In addition to that, these kinds of waste, both dog waste and trash on the trails, have a negative impact to our wildlife and to our water quality. So it's really important that we keep these areas clean. In addition to that, there's a lot of people who I am glad are exploring the greater public lands in the area, but we want you to be prepared when you go outdoors, especially when you're visiting places that you may not be as familiar with. And so some just great safety tips is to make sure that you know where you're going, that you let somebody else know where you're going, and you bring a map. Again, you can get maps on all these places, the major public open space at the CABQ website, /open space, and the other public lands. Go to their website, download a map so you know where you're at. Wear appropriate clothing. That includes closed-toed shoes, hiking shoes, or tennis shoes is really great. And dress appropriately for the weather. I highly recommend that you bring additional layers, especially if you're traversing up to higher elevations where the weather can be quite unpredictable. It might start off as a beautiful sunny day and you could get up there, and even in the summer it can hail. So you can get, there's still snow on top of the mountain, so please dress appropriately. In addition to that, make sure you bring water. We do live in a high desert climate and water is really essential. So, make sure you follow some basic things to keep yourself safe, because we don't want to have added pressure on our emergency staff right now to deal with safety issues and rescue missions when, they're already being taxed to deal with the COVID issue. I also want to remind you that there's a lot of different users on the trail. We have equestrian riders, we have hikers, dog walkers, people of all different abilities. And we really need to be very courteous to each other on the trail. And I specifically want to address my fellow mountain bikers. We have great mountain biking trails in this area, but we are sharing the trail. And when you come upon people to pass them, it's really important that you alert them, that you slow way down and dismount if needed. And I also want to remind you that you can't mountain bike everywhere. The Petroglyph National Monument is closed to mountain bikers, so please be aware of where you can and cannot mountain bike. And I also want to mention that, it is a beautiful time of year. It's spring, there are butterflies, I've seen snakes out on the trail, a lot of wildlife activity, there's things blooming new every single day. It's just a beautiful time to be outdoors in our backyards or in the open space. And so I encourage you to have fun, get to know your environment a little bit better by bringing binoculars and a field guide. You may even consider participating in a wonderful citizen science project called iNaturalist, where you can document what you see, and that goes into a national database that helps scientists all over the world to see different trends, especially as it pertains to climate change. So there's a lot of fun things that you can do with your families right now, and citizen science is a great, wonderful thing to do. But first and foremost, please again, remember to stay safe for your own sake and for other people on the trail. and minimize your impact to our natural and cultural resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Superintendent. Okay, we're also fortunate to be able to provide some updates from other folks in our collective outdoor, national forest, county, community, open space, central New Mexico ecosystem. So I want to bring up a few of them here today, and I think I'll get the names and organizations right. So let's start with Nancy Hendrick, Superintendent of Petroglyph National Monument, where we're at now.
Thank you, Mayor Keller. I really appreciate the ability to host this news conference here at Petroglyph National Monument. Petroglyph National Monument was established nearly 30 years ago. In fact, our 30th anniversary is on June 27th. And we're excited to be here to provide open space and opportunities for the public to come out and walk our trails. But we're also very important because we protect important cultural resources in the area. We have over 20,000 petroglyphs that occur within the monument boundaries and hundreds of archaeological sites. And we preserve the plants and animals of the region. So when you come out to the monument, I think it's important to be aware that you need to stay on the trails, not climb up over the escarpment, and be respectful of the cultural resources in the area. The National Park Service is doing all it can to remain open during this crisis. And we're trying to follow CDC guidance and the governor and the local ordinances. Most parks across the state are doing their best to remain open, but they are changing their facilities and operations. Many of them, like Petroglyph, have closed our visitor centers. Many of them are closed to the public. But here at Petroglyph, we remain open, and we're happy to support some of your outdoor recreational activities. However, we do have some operational changes. The vault toilets at Rinconada Canyon and at the Volcanoes area have been closed because we could not guarantee public health and safety. We could not clean them enough to meet the CDC guidance. So we have closed the vault toilets, and we ask that you try to use facilities before you come out to the monument. Human waste can cause a serious safety concern for us, so please try to refrain from having human waste out in the monument. Thank you. So the trail options for the visitors to come out into the monument are still open at Boca Negra Canyon, where you can see 100 petroglyphs. Rinconada Canyon is still open, and you can see more than 300 petroglyphs at that area. Piedras Marcadas Canyon is open with over 400 petroglyphs, and the Volcanoes Day Use area is open on the west side. You won't see any petroglyphs in that area, but you'll see beautiful volcanic formations. And again, please stay on the trails when you're visiting these areas. We urge you to practice leave no trace principles when you come out. Please bring your dogs, but keep them on a leash. And pick up your dog waste. It's very important for us. And also pick up your trash. We will continue to collect trash at these locations in our trash canisters, and we'll continue to provide mutt mitts so you can use those to pick up your dog waste. More people than ever are enjoying the monument. We're reaching unprecedented numbers, so we really urge you to follow the CDC and the governor's guidelines for staying 6 feet apart from other groups. If you see rangers out there, we're out patrolling. We're out making sure you're following the rules and regulations. But don't approach the rangers within 6 feet too. I really ask that you keep our staff as safe as possible. I also want to remind you, you don't have to come out to the national park to experience national parks. You can go to our website, nps.gov, and find a lot of opportunities. And you can find a lot of activities for your kids, and you can find some events that are going to be online. There's wildlife webcams, virtual tours, junior ranger programs, citizen science videos, and even coloring pages. So please experience your national parks by visiting us, but also from afar. I encourage people to check online before they come out to Petroglyph National Monument to make sure you know what's going on at the monument. Things are changing rapidly, and we are trying to respond as quickly as we can. We will be keeping our websites updated on a daily basis. You can also check out alerts on the nationalparkservice.gov website. There are a lot of national parks that have been affected by the pandemic and who are closing their gates. So you want to make sure before you take off to visit a national park in New Mexico or across the country that you have the most up-to-date information. I also want to remind you that bicycles and bicycling is not allowed within the monument boundaries. And if you have any questions about where you are within the monument, there is pretty good signage out there, but you can also check with our website, or you can contact me at nancy_hendricks@nps.gov, and I can assist you. Thank you very much, and stay safe, everyone.
Wonderful, and we're so glad, at least for the time being, our Petroglyph National Park is available to folks to use. So thank you so much. Next up from Cibola National Forest, another area I spend a lot of time on. I've been going out for hikes every weekend since this started, and I know it's busy out there in these mountains too. So Steve Hattenbach, Steve, come on up. He's the Forest Supervisor for Cibola National Forest.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for having me here today. Again, my name is Steve Hottenbach. I am the Forest Supervisor for the Cibola National Forest and Grasslands, which includes the beautiful Sandia District here, several 100,000 acres of recreation opportunity for the community. Although our offices are closed currently to the public, the national forests are still open for dispersed recreation. We encourage folks to come out for the refuge from your shelter at home for a brief period of exercise before you return to stay at home. It is important to follow the state of New Mexico's group size limit and give each other social distance when you are out on the trails. Some of our trails are becoming crowded. Some of our more popular trailheads, such as La Luz Trailhead, are experiencing very high levels of use. I want to encourage everyone to seek out other areas on the Cibola National Forest. The whole forest is beautiful, and if you're looking for other locations you can go that are less popular, you can visit our website, Cibola National Forest and Grasslands, and there are many commercial guides available to seek out less used areas where you can achieve good social distance. It is very important that when you visit the National Forest, you do not block access roads or gates to the National Forest roads. Those roads are used by our first responders, our firefighters, and emergency personnel to assist others. We cannot have those roads and gates blocked. So please, if a trailhead or parking lot is full, please find a less used area and do not block roads or gates. Like many other public lands, we have limited services. Our toilets are closed and locked. We have limited trash service. That is for protection of both the public and our employees. We found it difficult to meet CDC cleaning routines and difficult to keep toilet paper in most of our toilets at this time. So we have closed those. Please follow leave no trace ethics. Pack it in and pack it out. Please use the bathroom before you come to the National Forest and when you return home. If you recreate responsibly, we can maintain social distance for everyone and keep these beautiful public spaces open. Finally, a message about fire safety. We are at the beginning of fire season in New Mexico. My firefighters have responded to many small fires already, so I encourage you, when you're recreating on the open space, on the National Forest, on the national parks, that you observe fire precautions, fire safety. We are prepared and ready to respond to wildfire during the COVID-19 pandemic, but please do not create more fires that we need to respond to. We need to keep our firefighters
safe and healthy during this response. And during this time, when you are staying at home, it is a great time to explore FireWise website. We'll give you tips on what you can do to protect your home and your family from wildfire. So I encourage all of you residents in and around the foothills of the National Forest to review the FireWise website and see what you can do to protect your own home. Thank you.
Okay, I know all these facilities are busy. East Mountains, man, I mean, it's packed on that highway up to the crest, and so just really want to emphasize for folks to really spread out as best you can and enjoy all the different hidden treasures all over the East Mountains in central New Mexico. Okay, let's see here. So I think for us, we're gonna move on to, county. Yes, I knew we had county. Madison Banya is here, Supervisor of Bernalillo County Open Space. Also has great hidden gem facilities. Love that one in the South Valley too, the Hubble House. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Keller, for inviting me here. My name is Madison Banya. I'm the Open Space Supervisor for Bernalillo County under the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Department. I want to echo what my colleagues have stated. We are so fortunate to have these beautiful open spaces for all of us, especially at this time when we really need to get outside. It's a great time to connect to nature and to connect to yourself. We need these spaces for our mental health and physical health. So please help us to keep these spaces open. I'll just throw in a few quick reminders. One is that we are a community that can pull together, so we can do this. We need to follow the guidelines that our officials have set for us. We need to maintain safety, and we need to care for our entire community, and we can do this together. The other reminder that I have, of course, is maintain that distance, very important. As well as small group size, not just on the trails, but when you're getting in and out of the parking lot. Some of those safety precautions have already been stated. I also want to, this is kind of a funny way to remember this, but you can't hug your friends, but you can hug a tree, as long as it's on a trail. Stay on the trails. But as we said, it's a great time to get outside. Please help do your part so we can maintain these trails and open spaces open. Facilities for Bernalillo County, open spaces facilities are closed. Many of our programs have been canceled. As for everyone else, bathroom facilities are closed as well. We urge you to come out to the open spaces, but as soon as you're done, to really any public space, to then go home and maintain your safety there. We, as Mayor Keller suggested, the East Mountains is a great place to go. A lot of our closer to the city sites in the South Valley and North Valley have gotten a little crowded. So I encourage you to visit different, all of the spaces we mentioned today. Go out and explore on all of these spaces. We are Bernalillo County open spaces can be found at bernco.gov/open space. Very easy. We do have maps there. We do have some trail information as well. The last thing I'm going to reiterate is to please reduce the waste and litter on our spaces. All of our staff are tasked with doing this, but we are down staff, so we have a reduction in our own staff, so we're very challenged to do this. So please be responsible. I think even outside of this crisis, my colleagues and I are always encouraging people to take your own litter, manage your own waste. So remember, lift your litter, lift our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me check. I think that concludes our guests. We do have an officer from our open space unit here if there are particular questions. I want to remind everyone too, just from a law enforcement perspective, our Albuquerque Police Department is big enough wonderfully that we actually have a open space unit. You usually see them on fan boats rescuing people out of the Rio Grande. They also, though, patrol our various open space areas as well as our open space team. Okay, so with that, let's move to our question section. Let's mention, I think I'm going to skip through some other things because we've gone on for quite a bit today, and just go with takeout. In the office, we had lunch takeout a couple of days ago from Duran's Pharmacy. Still open and making great food. Okay, with that, let's take your questions. So I know we have some from Zoom coming in. Yeah.
From KRQE on the press release we sent out yesterday about non-essential businesses violating the closure orders. More than 70 businesses were found in violation. Has the city or other agencies actually cited those businesses, and what's your message to those businesses who are violating?
So my message for these businesses that continue to remain open when they're not essential is, especially if you have been warned, you need to close or we are going to close you. It's a very straightforward message, especially some of these businesses that are flagrantly trying to get around the rules. And we've seen that mostly with things like smoke shops and massage parlors. We will be moving to close you. Now, we're doing this in a at least respectful, methodical way. So you're going to get some warnings, you're going to get some visits, and then we'll close you. So we're in that phase now where we're visiting these businesses and telling them to close and giving them a chance to do the right thing now before we have to actually force them.
We have a question from the Albuquerque Journal, Jessica Dyer. How many cases does the city know about in La Villena, and who notified the city about those cases?
So the question is about the outbreak at La Villena. And for us, you know, from a city perspective, we have, whether it's our environmental health officials or our public safety officials, been in various discussions with the facility management. And of course, we're always in touch with DOH. So there's a number of areas where we receive information from. But I think the important thing here is that we're going to be releasing more details on that through a joint statement out of our Joint Information Center. I think also there's going to be more information coming out from the Department of Health this afternoon. So stay tuned for more. But again, we are aware of multiple cases and at least 10 plus cases, if not more, at this facility. So that's what we're able to share now. We're going to let the experts, which would be the Department of Health and Environmental Health, speak to the details on that, both in a release and in another discussion later this afternoon.
Relatedly, Mayor, she had a follow-up to that. Are you satisfied with the level of communication from the state about local cases?
The question is just about really communication and satisfaction with the state. We've been in very good touch. So I think one thing about our Joint Information Center is that, you know, it's inevitable that sometimes the city, because we're Albuquerque, we're going to find out about stuff and have issues that may or may not come through the state channels first or otherwise, and vice versa. They're the Department of Health. The state has all sorts of, whether it's state police or others, working in Albuquerque as well. And the good thing is we are in very close communication and sharing information when it becomes available. Also, we use a regular timetable. So for us, we share what we know at 11:30. That's what we do every day. And the state's been very helpful with respect to that regular public update, giving us whatever they want us to say at that point as well. Lastly, let me just add, our Emergency Operations Center, we have a joint statewide call at 9 a.m. every day. And I want to thank the folks from the state, the DOH, and from our city teams and our county teams, even UNM and all our hospitals, truly are demonstrating that one Albuquerque spirit every morning at 9 a.m. Okay, any solid waste or open space? All right, stay tuned for more over the internet, and we will see you again tomorrow. I believe we're aiming for the convention center for that one. Thank you so much.